this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio. Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Serrala here with you. So happy to have you, and we're going to have a very special guest join us on this episode. Dr. Stacy Haynie will be with us here very soon. She is the current Midwestern State University president. Has quite a story, too, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Very interesting lady.
Very interesting lady, very cool lady, and I think...
She is. She's really cool. You're right.
She is.
She's really cool.
She is. I think she's probably one of the best leaders they've had at the university in a long time.
I totally would agree.
And I've known two previous ones personally very well. I think she does an outstanding job, and we're going to hear from her here in just a few minutes. We come here as often as we can to entertain and inform you, bringing you news and information about local events and stuff from around the region and the state, national news as well. Sometimes we even throw in an opinion or two, believe it or not. I know that's shocking. Yes, indeed. But anyway, thank you for being with us. Be sure to visit our website, getitrighttexoma.com. Follow us on Facebook and share this on all of your social media platforms as well. Share. That is so important. That's how we grow the program, is through you telling everyone you know as often as you can.
Scream it from the top of your lungs.
Vote early, vote often. Thank you.
There you go.
Now, all right. Anyway, we'll get on to it here. Empty Bowls has got an event coming up. This is a benefit for the Wichita Falls Area Food Bank, and this is going to happen on October the 16th.
That's correct. And I believe it's at the Forum.
I think it is.
I believe it's at the Forum this year. I don't know exactly what you need to go online and see what the event is. Mm-hmm. I believe it has something to do with soups. They have different soups and that sort of thing.
Yes.
It's kind of a taste testing thing, I believe.
Yes.
But it does help the food bank is the big thing.
If you'll just search Empty Bowls Wichita Falls, it'll come up immediately. It'll be at the top of the search list.
Just like I'm
and
doing
it's emptybowlswf.org is their website. emptybowlswf.org. So if you want to search out their website, you can see that, and they
tickets.
Get the tickets. It's a huge and fantastic fundraiser for the Wichita Falls Area Food Bank. The food bank, of course, serves dozens of pantries around the area, multiple counties around the area. They're sort of the warehouse for all these different churches and organizations that distribute food to people in need. And so this benefits the food bank so that they, in turn, can continue to
help
grow
everybody.
Their mission as well. MSU, speaking of Midwestern State University, the MSU Alumni Association's homecoming is coming up on the 18th of this month, and they got a big fish fry at the Outdoor Education Center. And Trey is sort of connected to this little organization that's going to be a part of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Redneck Culinary Academy organization I'm been with for several years, and we're doing a fish fry for the Alumni Association.
Yeah.
But it is open to everybody.
Yeah.
So I did talk to Leslie Ponder, who's in charge of the Alumni Association, and she said be sure to let everybody know. Anybody's welcome to come out. The Outdoor Education Center is behind the fitness center. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a light at Midwestern State University. It's on I don't know what road that is.
It used to be West Campus. It was West Campus Drive forever.
It's like Wigwam or something like that now.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was West Campus Drive for a long time. But there's a light. There's only one light that's on that side of.
Or is it Louis J. Rodriguez Drive now?
It could be. Could be.
I think it's actually Louis J. Rodriguez Drive.
Might be right. Yeah. And it's right there on that side of Midwestern State University.
Yeah.
It's on the south side of the South Road there. It's on Midwestern Parkway, and you turn left right in there, and you kind of cruise around that building, and the Outdoor Education Center is back there. It's right next to the lake. It's a beautiful setting.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So that's coming up on the 18th. Don't want to miss that. We've been focusing on a local restaurant. We try to every show to highlight a local, family-owned, locally owned area restaurant. This particular episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Willie's Place.
That's right.
Which is in Wichita Falls. It's at 10th and Beverly or 9th?
Yeah.
10th and Beverly.
10th and Beverly.
It's where...
It's down the hill. It's where the hill goes at the very bottom and then goes back up on the other side.
It's where, for those of you that are from the local area, where Stanley's number 2 used to be.
And before that,
Underwood's. It was Underwood's drive-through
Yes.
for many years as well. Well, matter of Underwood's, I think they built the building originally.
I believe you're right.
Back in the 60s when Underwood's Barbecue was in their heyday. But Willie's Place has been there for, 15 years probably.
maybe 20. He's been there a long time.
Been a while.
But it's like you said, it's where Stanley's number 2 is, where Underwood's was. But if you're going down Beverly Drive, you go down the hill. It's right there at the bottom, and they have a lot of really good food.
Yeah, mostly burgers, fries, onion rings, that kind of fare. They do some barbecue.
They do barbecue. They do chicken sandwiches, but they have a lot of really unique combinations and things like that. They have daily specials, and they're open from looks like 10:30 to 7:30
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's a great place to go have a lunch or an early dinner, and they do have a beanie burger, by the way.
They do.
It is very good.
They do. They've got several area restaurants. For those of you that don't know, Stanley's Barbecue, legendary restaurant that was here years ago. The founders of that restaurant and owners have since passed away, and it's no longer around. But they invented decades ago, they invented this burger called the Beanie Burger, and it's basically a hamburger patty, refried beans, Fritos, chili, nacho cheese sauce, onions, jalapenos, and I don't know what else.
All on a non-sesame seed bun. Yeah.
It's a Mexican dinner on a bun, basically.
It's basically a Frito pie on a burger.
With beef.
Yeah.
With a beef patty.
On a burger.
With a beef patty,
on a burger.
Yeah, so,
you take a hamburger and put a Frito pie with it. Basically, that's kind of what it is.
And they were
really good.
Awesome, And so since Stanley's has gone away, several area restaurants have picked up the Beanie Burger mantle and started making variations of it.
And Willie's does a great job at one.
They all try to follow the same, I think, basic recipe of it, with the Stanley Hill family blessing, of course. But anyway, it's a great burger. You should try it out. And there's several restaurants around town that are doing it, and I've had several. This is one of the better ones.
Oh, absolutely.
A couple others do a pretty good job of it, but man, I still miss the original.
They have Mr. Pibb. I haven't seen that in a while.
Mr. Pibb,
that's on their drink list.
Yeah,
so,
Mr. Pibb.
Mr. Pibb.
Which was Coca-Cola's answer to Dr. Pepper.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Have you seen this Dr. Pepper with licorice?
No.
Why would you ruin
I don't
Dr.
know.
Pepper
There's
with
so many people
licorice?
into weird flavors
yeah,
these days.
sorry.
But anyhow, Willie's Place, go check them out there Monday through Friday. Great place to get a burger.
Yep.
Fries, onion rings. Onion rings are really good.
Okay.
And of course, barbecue and that sort of thing. So great place to go. Go check them out. Locally owned and operated. And check them out.
Anybody that does hand battered onion rings.
Oh yeah, it's
hard to beat.
Yeah.
This is high quality food. This is not yank it out. Get it brought in through food service, yank it out of the freezer, and throw it in the fryer. No, this is high quality.
Yeah.
I don't use the word homemade because they don't live there, but originally scratch made food. Let's just say that. Yeah. But look at their onion rings.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
phenomenal.
Well, and see, and I said that their Parkway had a really good one, so I'm gonna have to go check these out.
Yeah, go check them out. Yeah. Their onion rings are great.
Okay, I'll take your word on it.
Let's talk a little bit about hurricanes.
Hurricane. Wow.
There's a lot of hurricane relief efforts underway. What's the hurricane that just hit Florida last night? Milton.
Milton. Yes.
And they've had obviously already a lot of damage. I know they've clocked winds as much as 90 miles an hour in a couple of locations. Before the hurricane even made landfall, tornadoes were breaking out ahead of the system along the eastern coast of Florida, where these waves of storms were being pushed inland.
Right.
And severe weather was already breaking out there, but a lot of storm surge. Obviously, this is difficult. The Red Cross says 91% of what they bring in is going to
Relief. That's what they say.
costs.
Basically, they say that. Yeah, the reason I put this in here was there's some people. You got to be careful there's a lot of people out there doing relief.
Yes.
And you want to be careful who you donate to.
Yes.
There's a couple of them that are very, very good, solid businesses. The Be Strong, which is Bethany Frankel's organization, and then Save Our Allies, which is Tim Kennedy, former Green Beret and military, and they do a lot of stuff overseas, but they've also gone in. They're doing a lot of work in North Carolina and that sort of thing. The one thing about these two organizations that I've done a little research on and realize is a massive amount of the dollars that you donate there go to the relief effort.
High percentage.
They have a very small administrative costs. Tunnels to Towers, I believe, is one of the ones that they pride themselves on having a relatively low administrative cost. Look, you have to have administrative costs.
Yeah.
People can't work for free. I mean, these are people's jobs and livelihoods, and you have office space and telephones and telecommunications and computers and all kinds of stuff. You have a cost. But Red Cross, they say that they are 91% of the dollars that they take in go to the cause. Mm-hmm. So they're basically at either 9, depends on who you read, 9 or 10% are administrative costs.
Right. But for Red Cross, I think given they're in nearly every community.
Oh,
right.
And they are already
And this is the American Red
established-
Cross,
right?
by the
American
way.
Red Cross, and they're already in every community. So that actually, I don't think that's unreasonable at all. There's some charities I've seen that are taking 50%. Used to, the CFC, the Combined Federal Campaign, used to show all the percentage and everything. So that's good research you did. But Red Cross, the efficiency versus sending stuff.
Right.
Sending in-kind things is not very efficient for them. If you can go here and you say, here's $100, then they're that goes to a bank account and is effectively instantaneously available.
Well,
and then they can go buy stuff and ship it.
And they source things in mass quantities. It's one of those deals.
Yep.
They're not going to Walmart and buying 2 cases of water. They're going to Walmart corporate and saying, we'll buy 2,000 cases or 20,000
They'll
cases
add
of water.
another 20,000 to it,
or whatever it is.
No,
So,
I got you.
by the way, Walmart, I have heard as well, is they're doing a lot of stuff as well for this relief effort.
Yeah, they are. And there's, an organization like the Red Cross being as large as they are and having the large number of volunteers that they have, they got a lot of boots on the ground in a lot of places. They can mobilize and get people physically to a location probably faster than most organizations can.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've
Just
been
because of
preparing
their-
too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're-
But the two others that I would recommend looking into if you don't want to do Red Cross or whatever, Be Strong, Bethany Frankel, and Tim Candy Save Our Allies.
I
And
know
both of them are doing a lot of work.
Remember the Joplin tornado a few years ago? Really devastating EF5 that went through Joplin. And the individual who was the director of the Red Cross here at that time was from Joplin. And so had a very personal connection to it. But they had teams mobilized and in Joplin within hours of that tornado.
Right.
I mean, I think the first teams arrived within like 2 hours, 3 hours from outside of the community.
Yeah. Well,
in addition to what was already there.
Right. So the difference is, a hurricane you can plan ahead. Right,
you
it's
got
coming.
days of
right.
warning.
You just don't know exactly where it's going to be. But then a tornado is, oh my God, there's a tornado,
Here it is,
and because you're not going to every storm you're not going to mobilize ready for a tornado.
And then sometimes you have your issue like they have in North Carolina where the hurricane came in. Well, normally this part of North Carolina is not hit nearly as hard. But there was so much water, and it was going through places that it's not supposed to go to, that it just wiped out the infrastructure there.
It did. So you got that. Let's see here. Do we want to cover another one here before we break? Because we got Dr. Haynie coming in here.
Do you want to come back? You want to take a break, come back, and then we can.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll take a break here. Dr. Stacy Haynie is going to join us next from Midwestern State University. She's university president. She's got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to spend a few minutes with her visiting about some of the great things MSU is doing and has done, and some wonderful news that they've got to share with us. That's coming up next here on Get It Right Texoma. Stay tuned. Back in a moment. Hey, welcome back to Get It Right Texoma with the trio, Mike, Trey, and Terry. And our very special guest, as promised, joining us in the studio today is Dr. Stacy Haynie from Midwestern State University. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
We're excited to have you here. So excited to have you.
Let me tell you, she's the coolest university president I've ever seen. She drives a truck. For real. She drives a truck. You talk about somebody, a lot of times when you think university presidents, you think, the old symbol of the headmaster. My wife's from England, and she used to talk about the headmasters at the schools with the long black robes and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Haynie shows up. She's got a great smile. And she drives a pickup, and you're like, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and yes, she could have rolled up in a limo, I guess.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
sure, right.
Dr. Haynie, tell people a little bit about your background and how you came to Midwestern and Wichita Falls.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Henrietta, county seat of Clay, and went to school there, had a fabulous education.
Yeah.
And graduated. Actually, I had gone to my grandfather who had a dairy farm in Charlie, Texas. And he grew cotton and winter wheat. We grazed the cattle on that. And so I was sent to the cotton patch at 8 to chop the weeds from the cotton, and was driving the tractor like a pro by the time I was 10. And I have absolutely nothing but respect for farmers and ranchers, but did not want to do that for a living.
Yeah.
So my dad had given me a little black book that I kept all my hours in, and he paid me 35 cents an hour. I went back and looked up recently that minimum wage was $1.35 at the time. So I think you got to steal, although I was 8. So I had kept a record of all of those dollars that helped me to save up some dollars. I had a few scholarships, and then Harold and Snooky Bristol. I don't know if you remember Hornsby Heavy Hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Sure
Okay.
do. Very much.
Well, Harold ran that store, and they had established a scholarship. They decided to invest their life's labor in the potential of a young life, and I happened to be that recipient. So
Wow.
we're talking because Harold and Snooky said, you know what, we're going to create this scholarship. So I'm so very grateful for individuals who invest in our students. So I was able to go to MSU, had a phenomenal education, loved every bit of it. Then later went back to get my master's degree from there in political science, got my PhD from University of North Texas, and dragged my husband, who's also from here. We met at MSU, and he went kicking and screaming to the bayou from God's country here in North Texas. But we had fabulous 33 years there, and I was fortunate to have a number of administrative roles there, which were really critical for me in terms of having a skill set. I was in the graduate school, and then in academic affairs, and was dean and provost, and so was back at faculty and living the dream. Had finished a book up, and got a call from a search firm about potentially coming home, and yada, 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 here we are.
Wow. So from a football standpoint, you went from Joe Green Stadium to the Valley of Death.
Yes, I did. And I have to tell you, there is nothing like Death Valley.
Yep.
Especially when you're
Valley,
you're paying one of your SEC rivals, and you're there with 102,000 of your closest friends screaming. It is quite the experience. And when I was a faculty member, I just had the head down trying to get the publications I needed and do a great job for the students of the classroom. And I think I've maybe been to half a football game or something when I was asked to serve as the vice provost for academics. And the Academic Center for Student Athletes reported up to me. So I thought, I guess I should actually go to these events.
To a game, yeah.
And so dutifully went to all of the different events, all of which are amazing, and absolutely fell in love with college baseball. But we ask so much of our student athletes. And to be able to cheer them on is such a privilege. And you do not want to be near me during a Mustangs game, because I do scream and I do get loud. And in fact, at the last football game, my brother and sister-in-law were sitting near me, and the woman behind my sister-in-law said, "She's really a big fan, huh?" Yeah, she's the president. So that's not the job, but it's just so much fun.
That's awesome.
For our students who there's certainly a difference between D2 and D1. At D2, they're getting 4 more years to really enjoy their sport, and they're phenomenally talented and getting a great education to boot. So it's been wonderful.
Well, I know one of my criticisms, I guess, of MSU and Wichita Falls.
Yeah, I think it's it falls on everybody. We're trying to figure out the best way to handle it.
Is that we've never fully taken advantage of the relationship between the two. This is kind of the sticking point for me, is that someone who's not from here can drive through our city and not be able to know that we have this university here. There's no there should be evidence everywhere of it, and there's not. And I think it's been a two-way street. There's been a kind of a lack of effort on the part of the university and a lack of effort on the part of the community and the city government to best exploit, if we can use that term, the relationship between the university and the community, and to use that to each other's advantage. And I think you go to a lot of communities in Texas that have colleges, you see this.
Well,
you don't see it here, though.
Perfect example that's close by is Stephenville.
Yeah.
You go to Stephenville, you know that Tarleton State University is there. My kids all went to Texas A&M. If you go to College Station, you obviously know that Texas A&M's there, which I know it's a lot bigger school.
Yeah.
But you go to the grocery store, and every other car has an A&M bumper, and everybody has an A&M hat or an A&M shirt on.
Yeah.
But even in Stephenville, who's a lot smaller and closer to the size we are, you see a lot of purple all around Stephenville.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of been something we've always wondered, what can we do, all of us can do together to make this better.
Right, and I think you're right. I think it's incumbent upon us to be sure that we're engaging our community, so that we too are being a steward of this area and of the again, those families. We want them connected to our university so that their children know that this is a place for them. And almost every event I go to, I'll say, "How many of you are MSU grads?" And massive numbers of hands go up. So certainly we're aware that we need to be sure we're providing those opportunities for the community to engage. But I have had the privilege of serving on the chamber, the Wichita Falls Chamber, and also being able to be a part of that executive committee.
Yeah.
So this is something that we're certainly focused on,
Yeah.
and working with Tim Short, our mayor, to do exactly this, because we are one of the major economic drivers. We're an anchor institution, as is the base, as is the healthcare. And any one of those begins to wobble, the community's going to suffer from that. So
Absolutely.
we need to be more connected. So we certainly are working toward having, something as simple as flag programs that you know, for a nominal cost, a business can buy a flag. The city will help get the flag up and make sure that you see MSU and the base wherever you go, having those flags, and preferably side by side. One of the things that we're working toward at the campus is a student success initiative that will really support our students to ensure that they continue through their education and cross that stage, but that's anchored in a military education center. Mm-hmm. So on our campus, the Bridwell Activities Center, which is a hub for our student leadership and student development, and our sororities are located there. And the second floor is a shell, and we're building out 11,000 square feet of that second story to do exactly that. So the Bridwell Foundation has contributed $2 million. The 4A and 4B board have stepped up, and so $1 million each from them, and we'll be able to build that out. And then our community, again, we tend to focus on how do we not, but our community is amazing providing that support, and over $750,000 in scholarships that will be able to support our members of the Air Force on the base and their dependents will be eligible for those scholarships. So we are really excited to be able to, again, provide sort of that one-stop shop for our students. If you have concerns, go here. Whatever your question is, we're going to find out who can answer that question for you. So we're really excited. And again, that's both the university saying we need to do a better job of serving our students in our community, serving our base, serving those who serve. But our community's also saying, yeah, you're right. Let us help you be able to provide that support. So really excited about it. But we do. We need to have much more of MSU and our logo everywhere so that you connect Wichita Falls with the great university we have here.
Well, we just got to do a better job, both of us, of the community and the university, the base, everybody working together to sell one another.
Agree.
To sell the image and to sell the relationship and to show the world that, hey, all these things exist here. I keep telling people, you want to see Wichita Falls be very successful.
Correct.
Because we're the hub of this region here. if Wichita Falls is doing well, then Burnett's doing well. Iowa Park's doing well. Electra's doing well. Henrietta,
Charlie,
all of these little communities are doing good. If we're doing well, they're doing well.
Pumpkin Center.
Exactly. Thank you. We don't want to forget about them. You know, all 9 of them in Pumpkin Center.
Yeah. Well, but also as far as getting the people to stay here, you know, this isn't part of your deal is to build the rest of the community, but it helps. It all contributes
100%.
That's
together.
right.
And if you have students coming in, we'd like some of them to stay, but we would also like to keep the families and the people who are from here and go to school here, and we don't want them leaving.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's just reality oftentimes.
Absolutely. And those graduates have to be able to see a future for them and for their families here in the community.
Right.
So we have to grow opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the other initiatives that we're working on with the chamber, and Ron Kitchens, who's the president of the chamber, who's phenomenal talent, but providing paid internships. Many of our students, 44% are first generation. So the first in their families to ever go to college. Mm-hmm. And many of them are having to work part-time. Well, if they can get an internship related to their area of study, and it can be paid, right, so they can not have to find an additional part-time job, we know research tells us they're much more likely to stay in school if they have that opportunity. And they're more likely to stay here locally.
Oh, wow.
If they have that opportunity. And if they have 2 paid internships throughout their college career, that probability is even higher. Right. So if we want to retain them, there are things we can do as a community.
And I would imagine that helps reduce the size of their loans oftentimes.
Absolutely.
And I have, that's my biggest, well, there's 2 big concerns I have about traditional college education right now. Is that number one, there's so many other alternatives for getting an education, and there's a lot of professions that don't require, I mean, especially IT as an example. You don't have to go through your programming programs that you have there at MSU, but to be an IT guy, okay? So there's one thing, and then the debt, the student loan debt. That to me, the loans are, I just, it's not, I mean, you probably have some statistics, but I'd imagine it's still, when somebody's coming out with $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in debt. Now, I don't know if that's because traditionally tuition here is much lower, right, than a lot of people. Well, at one point, we were the best deal in America or something, you know.
Well, and again, maybe a decade or so ago, states across the whole nation, not just Texas, but across the whole nation, started divesting from higher ed. So providing fewer resources to higher education. So rather than it being a public good where 80% of it or so, back in the day when I was going to college and many of us, the state footed the vast majority of the bill, and it was much less for students and their families. So if you wanted to live in the residence halls or those sorts of things, then, you know, if you had some scholarships or things to help you, but it was fairly inexpensive. And the state of Texas, which does a much better job of supporting higher education than many, many states. I want to be very clear about that. But it's maybe 33% of our budget. And the remainder of that cost is on students and their families. And you can say, well, it's more of a private good than a public good. But that's where we are. So how do we then provide students with the ability to get an education and again, it's a quality degree. It's a credential of value. And, you know, $40,000, that's a lot of debt. But we know over the lifetime of that degree, you're going to be able to recoup that cost.
There's an investment. You do look at it as an investment. I did when I sent my kids to school. I looked at it as an investment in their future.
Absolutely. And it's not to pick on people who pick various degrees, but that's the thing that I think was sold to the American students for a long time is, get a degree in anything you want and we'll provide the funding, or loans, and sometimes grants. But then they get through this degree, and then we've got, how many people have a degree and then thought they had I get this degree and I'm going to make money, and that's not always the case. I mean, there's some that qualify you for things, but oftentimes it doesn't.
Well, and as somebody whose undergrad was a theater degree, you know, people may ask,
right?
You know, what do you do with that degree? Well, I don't know. You could be a president of a university one day.
Ultimately,
I mean,
right.
So I think it's also incumbent upon students to
Yes.
leverage, because I use that skill set every single day that I learned in that undergrad degree. But I also learned to write really, really well. Well, I don't know. My book editor might disagree, but was able to write to, be comfortable with this conversation, right? So that's a skill set that I value. But you're right. We want to ensure that when that student graduates, it is a credential of value in the marketplace. That's another reason why those internships are so critical.
You got experience to go with it.
That's right. So that regardless of what your degree is, let's get you into a real world experience and you get some skill set. And then too, when you think about those credentials, theater students now are also having to learn how to run equipment. Right, because everything is so much more technical now. So there's also a production side that you're going to be learning. So again, I think it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we're providing that degree path, that student will be successful. But research certainly shows that a student is, over a lifetime, infinitely better off if you have a college degree. That does not mean to say that you can't be successful without it. So you may know I live in a nice house. And I just read this story about Louis Sykes the other day. I don't know if you know Sykes House, Sykes Center, right? Sykes Lake. But Louis Sykes, who would have been born right at the turn of the century, and he had two younger siblings, twin sisters, and his father died when he was very young. And his mother could not take care of three children, which would not have been uncommon for a woman at the turn of the century. So the children were sent to an orphanage. Louis Sykes ran away from the orphanage to make his way in the world at 9 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So it's not as if you can't live the American dream, but that's a really tough way to make it in the world.
You're right. You hear that, and somebody will say, "Oh, well, I know somebody," and there's always outliers, but I was in the education side as well. I was on the school board in Wichita Falls, and the research did show if you have some sort of training post high school, and it could be college or it could be trade school.
Correct.
That's the reason why
Absolutely.
the Career Education Center was so important.
Which is phenomenal.
It's so. I was board president when we passed that.
Good on you.
That is a critical part of some sort
Absolutely.
of post high school education.
Absolutely.
One thing that we talked about at our last show was good news that this is the largest cohort. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah.
The largest cohort
Really
started from
exciting.
Midwestern State ever?
Really exciting. So if you've been following, the demographic trends, there are just fewer students graduating high school, just fewer of them, just lower numbers. So it's referred to as the demographic cliff. And so that means that there's just a declining number of students, and universities are an arms race for them. And as you noted, MSU is a gem in this part of the country. So we need to ensure that we are connecting to those students and their families and providing them access to MSU. So I arrived, we looked at how it was we were recruiting our classes, and one of the things that we know from research is the number one consideration for students and their families when selecting an institution is the quality of the academic experience, right? You may think, oh, it's about price point. No, actually, they want to know that it's a really good degree. And it's not about, I was at LSU, it's not about rah-rah purple and gold. Okay, that may be a consideration, but the number one factor is the quality of that. So we also knew from our own research that if we can get students to our campus, which was voted number one most beautiful campus in the state of Texas, thank you very much, by travel.org, and it is. It's a beautiful campus. Our faculty are incredible. The community is incredible. The staff are phenomenal. So if we can get them to campus, we have a 40% higher probability of them actually picking us. But we only had one opportunity in the fall and another in the spring where we invited students and their families to campus. So we started having more and more of those on Saturday, and kudos to our campus and our faculty and staff showing up to be there for those families. But we knew that helps us to recruit the class. There were many, 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 many things we changed, but we started communicating about the quality of our faculty, the quality of the degree program, the quality of the experience, the quality of the community, and having more of those communication pieces to students and their families. And a number of different ways we were trying to make the process not as complicated as it sometimes is. And we are absolutely thrilled. Our goal was 820, and 925 students were with us on census date. It's actually 936 now, but you pick a date, and the date is 920, and the highest before that was 889.
Wow.
So it was a 17% increase, and that's not happening across this country.
Oh, if there are fewer in the
Correct.
pipeline, then that naturally you're getting more than your share.
That is exactly
and
right.
that's good, because
And
you're
yes,
drawing.
So
them
we
in.
we have really celebrated that, and
So
of course,
done something
Keith.
well,
Yes,
yeah.
Now, does that include? Because you have other campuses, right? That's down in Dallas and
well,
Fort Worth,
we have a building in Dallas, but the students there are in our online program, so
Okay.
we're not actually teaching courses
right down there, but it's
No.
online. Okay.
But we have the majority of our students are coming from, and of that class are coming from this area, the North Texas region. But we also get about half our students from Dallas-Fort Worth, and those are the ones who are coming to our campus or who are in our programs
Right.
that are online.
Well, it's far enough away to be out of town, but it's
Mom and
close
Dad
enough
aren't too
that-
nervous about.
right. It's a
about-
week. I mean,
yeah.
easily on Friday, you can head home,
Yes.
and if they want to do that.
Well, it's also not. You're not going to the big city. You're not.
Right.
You're not
That's
sending
right.
your kid to Austin or.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not knocking University of Texas. It's a great school, but you know, if you grew up in Wichita Falls or if you grew up in Charlie, Texas, for sure,
got it.
Austin's that's a huge
Absolutely.
jump. I mean, Denton would have been a lot smaller jump going to Midwestern and then to Denton than it would
Absolutely.
be. So,
But it's fascinating to me. So I had a T-shirt on that was from the tutoring center, and orientation week, a student stopped me and she said, "Do you work for the tutoring center?" And I said, "Yes, I do work for the tutoring center." And she said, "Well, I want to get ahead in my Spanish class, little freshman student. Want to get ahead in my Spanish class, but I can't find the tutoring schedule." I said, "Well, tell me your name." She said, "I'm Nicole." So, "Where are you from, Nicole?" "I'm from Wisconsin." I was like, "Wisconsin?"
Really?
I'm like, how did you find us? And she said, "Well," she said, "I was looking for warmer weather and an adventure." I said, "Well, we got you covered, Nicole." But she had actually visited Texas A&M, and she said it was just way too big.
Yeah.
And she said, "I came here, and I just love the campus, and I love the people." And so we know that. And it is an advantage we want to leverage.
Oh, sure.
Well,
Absolutely.
MSU is big enough to offer the opportunities, but small
Yes.
enough to offer the
Yes.
community feel.
Absolutely.
Whereas you go to an A&M, you go to a larger college,
Lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it becomes such a massive. The environment itself is so massive, you just feel lost.
And it's good
Correct.
for some people, but it also, like you said, it's also good for some people to be at the smaller campus, and that's why there's
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah.
You do have your big universities, and you have your smaller universities. They all offer the good quality education, but the nice thing is this is a nice alternative for somebody who
Correct.
doesn't
Yeah.
want to go out there and be
Correct.
in the
And
mass.
I, could pick up the phone and say, "Okay, we can't have that many Nicoles from Wisconsin, so figure out who she is and get her this tutoring schedule for Spanish," which we did. Right?
That's awesome.
And that's not always going to happen on a campus the size of LSU.
can't just
No.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you get more of her here? from
Absolutely.
Wisconsin or-
That's a good question.
We are at it. As soon as we realized we had exceeded our goal, and by the way, our transfer student numbers are up. We're just excited all the way around. But Keith Lamb, who's our VP for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, and he said, so now, and I'm like, yeah, so now we have to beat that. So we have already, again, looked at, partly this is, there's a science and an art to it, right? So what did we do last year that we feel like, and we can look at the data and know that it made a difference? And what were we doing that probably wasn't having the impact that we thought? Okay, so we need to do more of the former and less of the latter. And, you start with a funnel of potential students, and that funnel is looking good. So we're optimistic again. But I've had, of course, we're a member now of Texas Tech University, and they have been incredible. And but a couple of the leaders there were saying, how'd you have a 17% increase in your class? Really, really hard work.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, though, about Texas Tech, is there any effort or thought of branding it, or we want to keep the brand you have, or what? I mean, because it's kind of be pluses and minuses about it, because some people may get overwhelmed and say, "Oh, I can't do that if I'm, because it's a big school," whereas they really are associated with it. You get the benefits of it. But branding it that way is...
And I think that there's, I've heard both sides saying that, we should just be the component, Texas Tech, Wichita Falls, and those who are like, it's MSU for over 100 years, and we can be a component of that system, leverage that system. You don't have to change that identity. So, I think for me, and of course I was a part of a system at LSU, and it did many things, tried very hard, but it was not the functional system that this one is. So having been in one and been in this one, and Ted Mitchell, who's the chancellor for the 5 components institutions, he is a phenomenal leader. But when you think of the state as big as Texas, and you're trying to navigate the legislature, and you're a single institution out here by yourself, it's much, much harder. So I think there's also been a benefit of being a part of an institution where they're pressing the interests of all 5.
Makes sense.
Yeah, very much. Dr. Stacy Haynie, Midwestern State University president, has been our guest today. Is there anything that we haven't covered yet that we should? I know we could probably do another 2 hours with you, and we want to have you back to talk more about all the great things that are happening. But is there anything today that we should discuss?
Please, look, there are so many things happening on our campus each and every day. Please look at our events. We've got plays coming up. We've got all sorts of athletic events. Sol Ross this weekend.
Homecoming is next weekend.
Homecoming is next weekend.
And there'll be the fish fry. The alumni fish fry will be Friday night.
Right.
Redneck Culinary Academy is going to be cooking for that.
Yes.
It's always amazing.
At the Outdoor Education Center.
Always incredible.
And everybody's invited, because I did check with Leslie and to make sure that if they needed tickets or reservations, she said, nope, it's for alumni, but everybody can come.
And it's an easy way for the community to support us. So please, check out everything that's happening at the campus, and you can find that all online, and come be a part, celebrate with us.
Well, and another event that's coming up, the MSU Burns Fantasy of Lights.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Which I sit on the committee for the Fantasy of Lights. I'm on that committee. And that's been a great, now over 50 years of the, well, actually this year may be the 50th year, the official 50th year.
Of the
MSU,
partnership there.
Yeah, the partnership, And it's such a great, again, something that connects the campus to the community and vice versa.
Absolutely.
It brings people there every single year. Thousands and thousands of visitors walk through that or drive through that, and people come from many miles away to see this. It's
amazing.
It is amazing. It's wonderful that we've got that on the campus. I think it's the perfect spot for it.
Agreed.
I can't imagine where else in town it could be that it would have the impact that it has there.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
And again, that's a space where the community provides the support for that. We are very grateful for the donations that help us to continue that.
Yes, absolutely. And I explain to people, because people ask me all the time, so because we have volunteers that will stand out there and collect money. Well, why are you guys out here collecting money? I thought MSU paid for all this. No, they don't.
Provide the
They provide a space to do it. Everything else, dollar for dollar, everything else is on us as a committee to fundraise.
Correct.
And so that's what we do.
Okay.
But having that space is incredible.
Who pays for the electricity?
We do.
Okay, so y'all build them.
Absolutely.
Yep. So there you go. See?
Yes.
We'd love to be partners, but
Right.
again,
Well,
students don't pay those
Right.
tuition dollars.
That's
for the
exactly right.
Burns
Yeah,
Fantasy
when you start
Lights.
getting into government dollars and things like that,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things that you can't do. People think, oh, it's just that easy. Like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Well, then I don't know why the mayor can't, make sure all the schools are working. fine,
Why Donnie Lee can't go down and run city council, right? Yeah, I get it. It's way different,
But I'm speaking on behalf of the committee, though, we deeply appreciate MSU's involvement and commitment to that display and and being a part of that. It's wonderful.
Well, and as a child who would go to the Burns home when it was there, it's incredibly special for me.
Yeah,
That's great.
it is. Dr. Stacy Haynie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And
We
as
love
we
it.
say, go Mustangs.
Got it. And we look forward to having you back soon.
Wonderful.
All right, terrific. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back with more Get It Right Texoma right after this. Thank you. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back to Get It Right Texoma. Again, want to thank Dr. Stacy Haynie for joining us. Great interview. Look forward to having her back very soon here on Get It Right Texoma. Thank you for being with us. Couple of things here that additionally we want to cover. When I heard about this, I thought, oh gosh, what could possibly go wrong here? First time we've ever had this in Wichita Falls, and I didn't know this really existed this way, but an R-rated, full-contact haunted house.
Yes.
Okay.
This is going to be in the former, is it the L.O. Nelson?
L.O. Nelson.
Office Supply?
Yes.
Oh.
The office supply downtown. It's like I think it's 2 stories. It's multiple stories.
Yeah.
And it's either 2 or 3 story building right there on Scott Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
what could go wrong?
so full contact. So in other words, they can touch you.
Yeah.
Not just scare the bejesus out of you. They can touch you, grab you.
You have to sign a waiver.
Yes. I guess kind of a hold harmless type thing.
Yeah.
In the event that you should get hurt or, God forbid you have a heart attack or something. But seriously, I mean, these kind of things, they seem to get
R-rated.
more and more.
Anyway, sorry.
Picture Joe Biden came up.
Oh, you want me to say something totally inappropriate there, and I'm not going to do it.
Talk about the dead.
Yeah. These things seem to
The undead. Anyhow.
Weekend at Bernie's right there.
There you go.
No, these things seem to get more intense all the time. I keep hearing more and more stories about these haunted houses getting more physical and even scarier. And of course now with some of the makeup and the artistry things and the technology and the lighting and all that, even scarier than they've ever been before.
Well, I think people are so desensitized to stuff now because they see so much graphic stuff
They do, yeah.
on their
You need more.
phones.
You need more.
And things are so realistic a lot of times. The video games that these kids play and stuff.
Man.
They're way different than Pac-Man.
Oh,
and the graphics of that, they look like movies. If you've seen a video game being played out, it looks like it's almost like a live action
the football
movie.
game, and they're actually recorded from real athletes,
Right.
And maybe even the actual athletes, if they're the famous ones that are on these football games and things, that they're actually putting sensors and everything. They're
Right.
going through the motion, and then they're recreating that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and the video games, they've been there for a while. My son was into gaming years ago. And probably, 7 or 8 years ago, he was showing me this video game, and it was about, it was like a SEAL Team 6 type scenario. And there was a scene like out of a movie where they're sitting down in a war room, and it's set in the early 1980s, and President Reagan walks in. And it looks like Reagan.
Yeah.
And it sounds, they actually took audio
Sure, yeah.
of Reagan
Yeah.
and using, I guess, what we would now call AI,
Yeah.
they created this dialogue for this video game, allegedly. They did this using Reagan's actual voice and created this whole, he's got like 6, 8, or 10 lines in this whole script and this dialogue. And it's like you're watching Ronald Reagan in a press conference or something.
Briefing SEAL Team. or
Briefing
whatever,
SEAL
yeah.
Team 6 or whatever. It was incredible. So, now that was, 6 or 7 years ago. We've come even farther. But this thing with a full contact R-rated haunted house, I just don't quite know how to feel about
Now,
this.
hey, I feel about it like you do you. I don't care. I'm not going.
I'm not
I've got no
going.
desire to.
No.
That's the thing. But so what? If you want to go
not
check
a-
it out.
I'm
It's
not
on
a big
L.O.
f-
Nelson, downtown Wichita Falls. You get tickets online, and this may be very popular. You might need to get tickets ahead of time, especially on the weekends.
I'm not a big fan of Halloween anyway. It's just an excuse to eat a lot of candy. I mean, seriously, if you're a candy manufacturer, God, you love Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween and Easter are two of your biggest ones.
It's
you
like
know,
it's
Valentine's
$20. Yeah,
Valentine's
it's
Day.
like-
Well, yeah, Valentine's Day, but that's kind of overrated too.
Yeah, it looks like it's $20, which that's not unreasonable for a few minutes of scare, and if you're into that,
If that's what you're in, and I'm sure the turnout will be great. I'm sure they'll do well, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to wet their pants. But I'm not going to be one of them. Okay. I'm not going to be one of them.
Go with God. There we go.
Thank you. Go with this. Yeah. Anyway, so anyhow,
Speaking of universities,
Wayland
Baptist University. I didn't realize that they'd had a presence here for 50 years.
50 years.
Now, has that always been on the base? Or
Yeah,
is
open their Wichita Falls Center
right, because they used to be on the base too.
in 1974.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
well, I believe it was on base originally.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And I don't think like when we were kids, I don't think there was Wayland Baptist off base. I thought it was exclusive. I
Right.
think it was
Well,
exclusively military.
Yes,
at the time.
yes.
I remember them being specifically just on base because I actually taught for them for a while just
Right.
after I got out of the Air Force, and so I taught on base, a couple of computer classes, and then they opened up the
It's not a
Wayland.
computer class.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why they would hire me, but that's kind of scary. But anyway, they're a good university. I mean, they're a Christian university, obviously Baptist, and it's interesting note. In most jobs, you can't. I think this is still the same today. But if you go to MSU, they're not going to ask you to declare your belief in Jesus Christ and your commitment
No,
and
right.
all that. But Wayland Baptist does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They ask you, they can do that.
To attend there or to work there?
No, to work there.
Okay, that makes sense a little bit.
Well, years ago, I worked for Gibson's Discount Center, if you remember them.
Mm-hmm.
And I distinctly remember on the job application that I filled out for Gibson's. Now, this has been over 30 years ago, probably close to 35 years ago now, I guess. On the job application, to ask you about your religion.
Oh,
Interesting.
wasn't illegal.
Which,
back then, maybe.
I don't know.
It may have been.
They
but
did it.
Didn't
Yeah,
get caught.
It was there.
Yeah.
Gibson's was locally owned and operated, so they probably could have just kind of done with
Were
it.
they like
And
a
the-
franchise?
Sort of.
Because Gibson was in Fort Worth.
Well,
Yeah,
you
but
had
they were from here.
Yeah.
Which family was it? The Strike family.
the Strike family owned Wichita Falls, and I think Burt Burnett.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the T.J. Henry family had the Vernon store, the Alta store, and I think the Duncan store.
Right.
And then the Strikes also had the downtown Gibsons.
Right. Exactly.
Which
so
is,
I guess
you know,
it was a franchise of some
Yeah,
sort. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, they I distinctly remember on the application religion
Yeah.
Baptist.
Yeah. Downtown. Well, both Gibsons, but especially the downtown. The second you walked in, you smelled the popcorn.
Oh, the popcorn and nachos.
Yeah, it was right there.
You know, right there at the front of the store. You just had to.
So anyhow, Wayland Baptist is celebrating their 50th year.
Yeah.
They're located now on Caulfield Road. They're in one of the shopping centers. Is it the Trot's Drug Shopping Center?
Yeah, it's where Trot's is. There's several other businesses there.
Dollar General and stuff like that, but it's on Caulfield Road.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to find.
So it went from Shepherd Air Force Base to Caulfield, which was another military.
Yes, it
installation.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they can go. They've still got both offices.
Right.
Yeah. The old,
So they're still on a military installation, or what was a military installation.
Yes.
at least in name.
That's right.
At least in name. All right, guys. Well, I guess you want to wrap it up here?
Absolutely.
I guess let's do, guys. Thank you for joining us. By the way, podcast being brought to you in part by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls, since 1966. EddieHillsFunCycles.com. And zero-turn mowers,
Yes.
too, by the way. As Terry was so aptly
There
demonstrating.
you go.
For those of you that are not watching on YouTube or
It's
listening.
actually not this. I guess some are this way, but it's actually this way.
Right. You pull out.
It's more ergonomic, you know.
Exactly.
Did it take you a while to learn how to?
No, I already. I had that skill down.
Oh, okay. All right. Also brought to you by MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road in Wichita Falls, Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com, your home for Apple authorized service and
we
your,
fix these for you.
That's right.
If it has an Apple logo on it, we
Right.
can fix it.
There you go.
and
Or
they
otherwise.
sell every Apple product except the iPhone.
And the goggles, actually, I kind of always forget about that, but the Vision Pro,
Oh, yeah.
the headset, we don't sell those. That's direct